Patience has so much to do with your finances. It's really incredible because patience is about endurance. And if you got the endurance to handle your finances, you can fulfill your dreams. Let's find out how on Choosing Your Future.
Life is not about you living in the past. It's not about you living in fear. It's about your dreams. It's about what you believe. Life is about you choosing your future.
Lessons for the future begin here.
Welcome to Choosing Your Future podcast. This is episode 034. And we have Tim Edwards back in the studio with us today, podcast studio, and we're talking about his book, Free to Dream.
Free to Dream.
And it's a really good book. And matter of fact, it should be coming out really, really soon, and you can get more information on that. You can probably pre-order if you go to his website. And your website is eighthdaygroup.com. And matter of fact, you're kind of working on some pre-production on starting a podcast, correct?
Yes, I am.
So we'll probably have more about that later. But anyway, thanks for listening to Choosing Your Future. We want to thank you, and visit choosingyourfuture.org. There's a lot of information on there, and feel free to share the podcast. We really appreciate you listening. We are growing, and we thank you for it. We got people listening not only in the United States, but around the world, and we thank you for that. And so let's jump into this thing. The first thing we dealt with in your book, you talk about having a goal, and the first thing is dreaming.
Dreaming.
And most people don't associate dreaming necessarily with getting your finances in control.
True.
Because most people tell you need to be more realistic.
Yeah.
But you go from a different approach. You say, hey, dream big, dream very big. And that right there kind of helps create your purpose, because what's in you to dream is probably what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
In life.
Yeah.
And then you talk about setting goals. This is where we get to the blueprint. And I like the way you frame that. You use the word blueprint. If you're going to build a house, you have to have a blueprint. That kind of gives you a different perspective. That's one thing I'm finding out is words. If we use different words, sometimes it gives us a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
Blueprint is a little bit different than a budget.
Yeah.
Budget means ick. That's what most people think when they think about budget. It's like, ick. It's restraining. It's you're confining me. You're limiting me. But a blueprint tells you, hey, this is how it has to be done. And you can see the dream in front of you.
Yeah. It just gives you a sense of direction.
A sense of direction.
Yeah.
And then you talk about discipline. And discipline, in the last episode, you talked about a heart-wrenching story and how if we're not disciplined in the now, it will affect us in the future with our finances, even physical death.
Sure.
And you talk about that.
Yeah.
But at the same token, Dave Ramsey, I think it says, if you sacrifice today, you'll have financial peace tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, but that's one thing, I think, getting back to the dream thing, people don't know how to dream when it comes, because they think, well, I don't have the money anyway, so what's the use? But yet successful people dream. Matter of fact, they set time aside to daydream. And, money follows vision.
Yes.
So, and you talk about that. Now we're on to the last topic, which is
patience.
Patience. That dirty word. It's the next dirty word next to budgeting.
We all struggle with it.
My grandma used to say, old fella used to say, Lord, give me patience, but hurry. So tell us a little bit about, now you do speaking.
Yes.
On this topic.
Yes.
You've been in banking for 21 years.
Yeah.
And you've worked in all aspects of banking. You've worked on the credit report side, the loan officer side, the marketing side. You've pretty much done it all, VP, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So you've pretty much seen the ins and outs, how the banking thing works. And what you're trying to do is get people free.
Yes.
from the system.
Yeah.
And you do conferences and stuff like that. Matter of fact, if you want him to speak, he's a great speaker on this stuff, and had a lot of great response from it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the free is the word there, because here's the deal. What this does, when you start talking about dreams, that inevitably gives you hope.
Right.
You can't talk about dreams without having hope. I mean,
Right.
it goes it's one and the same. And so, there's been, actually, it was kind of interesting because, yes, we're talking about money, but it's so much bigger than that. And I see that play out in these conferences and in these conventions. One in particular, I went and had a 30-minute spot for a group here in Arkansas. It's been a couple of years ago, but I remember I got up and I briefly just wanted to they wanted me to briefly kind of explain or talk about this subject. Talk for 30 minutes, and I was walking out, and this lady followed me out, and she was crying, and she ran up to me and she hugged my neck, and she said, I just want you to know that for the first time in a long time, I actually have hope. And it was it set me back a little bit, because I'm talking.
I just talked about money and budgeting,
and now all of a sudden you got hope, But it's amazing every time I teach this. It's like you can see the light bulbs in the room going off. You can see that there's an understanding happening. You can see that life is happening again, and hope is being inspired again. And, every time I go and I speak and I look into a room, I don't look at just bodies, people. I see so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
I think about a lot, like when I go and I speak, no matter if it's a group of 5 or, 20,005, I'm looking at every one of those people are not just a being. They are a part of, there's something so much bigger there.
Yeah.
And so when I speak, that's what I have in mind. And it is interesting because so many times that's the reaction I get. People coming up to me and going, wow, I'm hoping again. Like I see that. And you know what I always wanted to do? It's so funny because it leads into, what I always wanted to do. I'm like, what? And with every person, it's something totally different.
Right now, currently, unfortunately, we have a high suicide rate.
Yes.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Because people are losing hope.
You got it.
And what's sad is there's some people who actually lose hope in their life because of finances.
Mm-hmm.
And can any financial situation be turned around?
Absolutely, it can. I've seen it. There was a gentleman that came in, and this was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. He actually came in. It was interesting because he was in the military. He come in, young guy, and I'd never seen him before. He came in, we got to talking. He had 2 little girls with him, identical twins. They were the cutest things. Just as sweet as they could be. Beautiful girls, and they were probably about 3-4 years old. And this gentleman, when he came in, this guy was distraught. I mean, you could see it all over him. And we got to talking, and come to find out, unfortunately, recently he had, at that point, had lost his wife to cancer. And so here he is, single dad in the military, 2 beautiful little twin girls. And it was amazing because I began to share with him some of this stuff. And he was one of those that were getting payday loans, and he was having a hard time paying them back. But his wife had income. So when she left, of course, now their income is in half and
Right.
same bills.
And unfortunately, the military probably doesn't get paid what they deserve.
And
putting their life on the line for us every day. But
absolutely.
very pro-military here.
Absolutely. And so, we got to talking, and I began to share some of this with him. And we began to talk about some of his hopes and dreams and some different things, and some of the things that even him and his wife at the time, some of the things that they dreamed together. And all of a sudden you could see hope begin to kind of sparkle again in his eye. And it was amazing because his credit had really taken a hit. He had no money. And I actually watched his situation turn around in it took about a year and a half. But where he thought he was going to have to file bankruptcy and so many other things, he didn't end up having to do that. And it took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of patience on his part. Again, he was trying to work through hurt from losing his wife. He was trying to work through losing the income. But at the end of the day, because he persevered, he did not stop.
Patience.
He did not stop. And, there were times with him that I recall things would get tough. It would get hard. Yeah. His discipline, he was military, so his discipline was there. But there were times where the walls of life would get thrown up in his face. And, first time or two, sure, you can plow through those walls. But, man, eventually your head starts to hurt a little bit,
right.
Because these walls are solid, some of them, and they're hard. And there were times he would call me or he'd come by the office and say, "Hey, man, can we talk?" And I would remind him, "Hey, I get it. I know it's tough. I get it. But hey, here's what we're trying to work toward. Here's what you're wanting to do. This is what you told me, 6 months ago, a year ago. This is what you said. This is what you're wanting to do. This is where you're going. Remember." And it was tough because even when his discipline would get tired, patience would kick in.
James 1 in Scripture, and we're Christians. We don't hide that fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Believe in Jesus Christ. And James 1 says, "Count it all joy when you fall into various trials and temptations, knowing that the trying of your faith produces patience."
And it says in, Luke 21, in your patience, possess your
joy.
Possess your soul. Your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes on to say, "But let patience have its perfect work in you, that you may be complete, lacking in nothing." Because I think we misunderstand that sometimes. We think that patience is doing something in us, but actually what it's saying is let endurance work through you so that you'll be complete in the end.
Yeah.
That you get to the goal, that you get to the prize.
Yeah.
And like you said, in Luke, in your patience possesses your soul.
Yeah.
Your life.
Your existence.
Yeah. And let's face it, money is not our life.
Right.
Okay. And people say, well, money's evil. No, the love of money is evil.
Yes.
What you put your energy in. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what you're saying in this book is don't put your energy in the money.
Right.
Put your energy in the dream.
In the dream.
Work out the blueprint. Stay with the discipline. Put the energy in the discipline. Put the energy in the patience. And everything works out because that's your life. And when you look at it, we give up on dreams because of lack of patience.
Absolutely. It's because we forget. We forget. We even, it's interesting because the Bible also talks about write the vision and make it plain. And that's the thing too. I think many times we forget to write that vision, make it plain. We need something sometimes to go back on and to look at and read and to remind ourselves where we're going.
There's always hope.
Always hope. Always.
There's always hope, especially with God. There's always hope. So if you're going through a financial mess right now, or you're going through anything, just remember, there's always hope. Just be patient. You'll make it through. Choose your future.
Thank you for listening to the Choosing Your Future podcast. For more information, please visit choosingyourfuture.org. That's choosingyourfuture.org.